20 years later. Comic book superheroes were then past their initial boom and were declining in popularity. An editor at Marvel Comics by the name of Martin Goodman, a Jew, tasked two of his writers with coming up with a comic book that would appeal to a new generation of readers. Their rivals at DC were having some success with the Justice League that teamed Superman up with Batman and Wonder Woman and Green Lantern and the Flash, and Goodman wanted his own team of heroes to capture young minds. The writers who he gave this task to were Jacob Kurtzer and Stanley Leibowitz, though in the good tradition of Jews and superheroes, they had both changed their names to the less Jewish-sounding Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. Together, the group they dreamed up was not so much a team as a family, the Fantastic Four. In their story, a cosmic storm has turned a group of astronauts into the stretchy Mr. Fantastic, the sometimes invisible Sue Storm, and the sometimes inflammable Human Torch. And to round out the family, Benjamin Jacob Grimm, who had been transformed into an orange rock monster called simply the Thing. Ben Grimm seems to have come mostly out of the mind of Jack Kirby and to have been somewhat autobiographical. Kirby had grown up in the famous Lower East Side Jewish neighborhood of Delancey Street. Benjamin Jacob Grimm grew up on Yancey Street. Benjamin was Jack's father's name, and Jacob the name he'd abandoned when he started to go by Jack. Superman was all about assimilation, blending in, the secret alter ego. But the Thing cannot hide. He's always jealous of his three friends who can turn off their superhuman abilities and walk around normally in the world. But he isn't sometimes made of rock and sometimes just plain old Ben. He's an orange earthen monster 24/7. And that's not my word, by the way, monster. That's how the people in the comics describe him and how he feels often about himself. And this too feels like a description of Kirby and Lee's Jewish experience. They might have wanted to fit in, they might have changed their names, but in the world of the 1960s, they always felt a little different in some intrinsic way. I think perhaps they moved through the world like the Thing, wondering if they stuck out like a sore thumb, if they were seen as a little monstrous. As with Superman, Kirby and Lee could not or would not make the Thing explicitly Jewish, but it was strongly implied. More than once, this Lower East Side rock creature was referred to as a golem, that creature from Jewish mythology made of mud. It took until the early 2000s for comic writers to finally bring Ben Grimm's Jewishness to the surface. Since then, he smashed the glass under a chuppah and had a second bar mitzvah.